Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another video. And today, unfortunately, it is a pain in my Arsenal video because today it genuinely feels like a loss after yesterday's performance against Fulham. I actually recorded my match reaction yesterday, but felt like I needed more to vent, so I am doing it again. And I'm genuinely gutted. It felt like a game where, especially at home, we should stop conceding needless goals that could have been avoided. First things first. Secondly, failing to keep a clean sheet at home ties in with the first point. But also, the way we played yesterday was a lackluster performance. And credits to Fulham. Fulham were very strong defensively, organized, and knew our game plan, but also were very good at man marking our players. We struggled to break through Fulham's midfield to their defense, and in the end, we both take home a point. We were shocking defensively at home, and Fulham were much stronger. Um, kind of felt like we were the away team, frightened against Fulham. And no disrespect, not taking away anything from Fulham. They played us off the park in the first half, and 1 minute into the game, and Arsenal already concede an early goal. Um, Very shocking and unlucky for that goal from Andreas Pereira. But let's go straight into the game. I'm not going to delve too much into it. Dropping points to Fulham at home after having to dig deep to get the 2-1 lead with Eddie Nketiah tapping it in. And then before that, Fabio Vieira winning Arsenal penalty and Bukayo Saka slotting it in the back of the net against former Arsenal keeper Bernd Leno. Needless to say, set pieces. Arsenal have been poor on set pieces, attacking and defending them since United at home last season, and yesterday was no different. Yesterday, Arsenal got done dirty over set pieces, and nearly in the end of the game, going into extra time, Adama Traore has a one-on-one chance to actually take 3 points home to Fulham, and thankfully Ramsdale made a brilliant save, so credits to him for that. Dropping points to Fulham at home is quite disappointing, and it does feel like a loss. But let's go straight into the video, shall we? Let me go ahead and cue that intro. So, as I mentioned earlier on, 1 minute into the game, and Bukayo Saka loses possession of the ball, which was quite unfortunate. And I guess bad place, bad timing. Andreas Pereira has an opportunity to make it 1-0 for Fulham. And what does he do? Slots it in the back of the net. Ramsdale could have done better to prevent that goal, but it was really unlucky there. And the second goal we conceded was Joao Palhinha's goal in the 87th minute. I felt like Ramsdale could have done a lot better there as well to prevent that goal. But again, Nottingham Forest at home and now Fulham at home, we see how Arsenal are conceding avoidable goals. That's something we really need to improve on, as well as improving on set pieces, attacking and defending them. We have United at home next week, and United are a counter-attacking team. I really hope we go back to that four at the back to have more security and defensively in our back line with Gabriel back into the starting 11. I do feel against United, we are not going to risk playing a back three. It's too open and too easy for teams to break through us. We created chances in the first half, but we struggled to finish them off. It kind of felt like Wenger ball, as people would say. I remember one of my friends tweeted about it and said it's typical Wenger ball, where we create chances and we struggle to finish them off. Man United at home, I'm going to keep referring to that later on in this video, is a huge game for us, just like the North London Derby is. And now that Zinchenko's back fully fit and even played yesterday along with Gabriel Jesus, I'm confident that Gabriel Jesus would start the next game for Man United. He did feature a cameo appearance in the game against Fulham, as well as Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, Declan Rice, Eddie Nketiah, and I guess most of the substitutions had a really good game. And Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, Nketiah, Rice. And those are my notable mentions on the players who had a level above the rest of the team. Now, Saka did better than in the second half than the first half when he actually had Ben White as a right back behind him. playing in his position instead of Partey at right back or Partey doing the inverting role. We really struggled to finish the chances off we had in the first half. Martinelli shot right straight at Leno, and Odegaard was unlucky for some of his chances that he took. I felt Odegaard had a poor game along with Kai Havertz, but I'm not excluding them selectively. I'm saying collectively as a whole, bar the players I mentioned who are above the rest. And my man of the match is Fabio Vieira. If I had to pick a player of the match, man of the match, it would be Fabio Vieira. I think he was a game-changing substitution, an impact substitution, and won us the penalty, but also showed he has more confidence, more resilience, and showed how determined he was in this performance. I really hope he gets more game time throughout the season in games that it's more suitable for him to play. The system and style we were playing yesterday, I don't think it suited Odegaard's strengths. Likewise, with Trossard having to accommodate Kai Havertz, there was no link-up play with Trossard and Kai Havertz. Now, mind you, Kai Havertz in that 8 role, it's going to take time for him to sink into that number 8 role that Arteta is trying to get him to do. He really had a poor performance yesterday, but I'm not singling him out. I felt collectively as a team, bar the players I mentioned, we were all poor. And we only have ourselves to blame. I feel like after going 2-1 up with Eddie Nketiah giving us the lead, Arsenal got way too comfortable, underestimated their opponents from the beginning of the game, and allowed Fulham to get back into the game. That's one thing we never seem to learn from. Same old Arsenal, especially the conceding needless goals and being fearful to attack and defend on set pieces. That's really something we need to work on this season, or else bigger teams are going to take advantage and capitalize on that to punish us. With Zinchenko back, it's strong to say that we're not going to see Partey at that right back position, especially going into that Man United game next week. I feel our midfield should be Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. Strong midfield against United, who play a counter-attacking football, but also it's going to be a midfield battle between the two. And we need a stronger back line. So I'm going to say a back 4 with Gabriel. A lot of people were saying yesterday that it not only was it a lackluster performance, but Arteta chopping and changing too many things with seeing Gabriel on the bench yet again, just like the Nottingham Forest fixture. But the thing is, people are saying Arteta is experimenting when we played like this last season. Sorry, and I say that only because last season it was actually Zinchenko who was doing the inverting with 3 midfielders. So Arteta is trying to do 3 midfielders and 1 inverting. So the person inverting is now Thomas Partey at right back, just like he did at Atletico. So it's just that's the only change. And the only reason Thomas Partey was at right back doing the inverting was because Zinchenko was injured and unavailable to play and only became fully available against Fulham. And then now against Man United, I think he should be fine. I think the only concern is if Partey was to get injured, who's going to be the alternative to do the inverting if Partey and Zinchenko were both injured. We had to really dig deep for that goal for Eddie Nketiah, and I was proud of him. I felt like he had a really good game. He did come off the bench, and that's one thing I want to talk about. So I was just like you guys. Most of you guys said, why can't Trossard start? Why don't we have Trossard start? Trossard's great every time he comes off the bench. Give him a start for once. And Trossard starting is less influential. I'm not sure if it's because there was no chemistry between the link-up play with him and Havertz, but Trossard starting yesterday was a poor performance. And needless to say, again, the whole team was poor collectively, bar the few notable worthy players that I mentioned. Trossard coming off the bench is more of a super sub, impactful substitution, just like Reece Nelson when he comes off the bench. We know he's going to offer us a goal or a goal-scoring opportunity at least, creating chances, building chances, and being able to finish those off. Trossard coming off the bench, I feel, is just like that, an impact substitution, a great player to have off the bench when you need a goal or when you need to maintain a lead, bringing on Jorginho, for example. Fulham now go down to 10 men with a Calvin Bassey red card, and Fulham 10 men down still get a point off the Emirates. It's very disappointing for me to say because 10 men Fulham and set pieces is what costed Arsenal 3 points on the board at home. A disappointing result, but we have to move on and look at the bigger picture. We have a lot to work on throughout the season, especially on set pieces. But more importantly, maintaining a clean sheet at home should be our main focus, and also winning games. Yesterday's game, although we got a point, which was a game we could have easily lost if Adama Traore had scored the last minute chance he had with Ramsdale, thankfully making the save. We could have easily lost that game. Zinchenko made a huge difference in the game when he came on, as well as Nketiah coming off the bench. Those are the players I want to give credit to, but also I felt Declan Rice had a 9 out of 10 performance yesterday. He had a really good game. Ben White at right back offers so much down the flank when he overlaps. That's something I wanted to mention as well. William Saliba had a couple of sloppy moments on the ball early on in the game. It wasn't his cleanest performance, or wasn't his best performance. His ball recovery was brilliant, however, and that's something I'm going to mention. But I'm not trying to be too harsh on our defensive back line. I think collectively our defensive back line was really poor, and it was notable, especially throughout the first half of the performance. Now let's move on to the midfield. I felt Declan Rice was one of our best players in the first half. He added so much depth in our midfield and possession of play. He kept us in the game and helped us retain possession. He impacted the contest in every phase. I think that's something that I wanted to highlight. Like, Declan Rice had a really good performance. I didn't feel like he had misplaced passes in the game, and he really grew into the game. He was subbed off later on the game, allowing us to bring another attacking outlet. Kai Havertz had a really poor game. He worked hard without possession, but looked lost in midfield, and looked lost in the attack. Whenever he had the ball, he just looked like he didn't know where to go with it. He didn't really put away any chances that he had. He did try to head the ball in the net, and was unlucky there. Martin Odegaard, I felt like it was wasteful in the final third. He did try some chances to Leno, but it was easy for Leno to save. And I felt like it was one of his poor games in terms of us lining up in this formation and in this style. Didn't really suit his strengths of what we know Odegaard as. Saka in the first half, we have to mention the fact that he was responsible for that early deficit in the game. Going 1-0 down in the first minute was shocking to see, but he overturned it. He slotted in the penalty, and in the second half, he definitely grew into the game. Trossard was hooked at later on into the game, and Gabriel Martinelli, I think he had a average game. He wasn't necessarily great in the final third either. I think all of our attackers were similar in that stance in the first half, and my super subs would probably be Zinchenko and Fabio Vieira together. I think both of them really changed the game, and Nketiah. Now going on into a full analysis of the game, after seeing us only get a point to Fulham at home, it's quite concerning, especially Nottingham Forest. Again, the same patterns we're seeing, us conceding needless goals. It's getting worrying because other teams can punish us when we're not taking our chances in the first half. We're not being clinical in the final third. Seems like a repeat of some of the games from last season. And you have to give credit to Fulham. Like I said earlier, Fulham were really solid defensively. They knew how to read our players well. And they had two man marking our players. They were really good at man marking our players as well. And maybe Fulham fans would say they deserved all 3 points, to be fair. I think at the end of the day, we really improved in the second half, but it wasn't good enough. And against Fulham at home, we should be expected those 3 points. We lost those 3 points because of conceding on a set piece, which is going to cost us every time. Arsenal have been poor on set pieces for a long time. And I can't stress that enough, the fact that we need to improve on set pieces. Now, let's look ahead at the Man United game. Personally, I feel going into the Man United game, we need to go back to something that works. Go back to our original starting 11 and go back to the fact of playing a back four, something that gives us more solidity in the defensive back line. I know expectations are much higher this season, but I trust Arteta to get it right, especially going to the Man United game. And also, concerns came up yesterday about Eddie Nketiah picking up a knee injury after the game. He did look fine as he walked off the pitch on his own. He was great when he came on, and he's growing as a player. That's one thing I wanted to highlight: the fact that Eddie Nketiah from last season and this season, we're seeing him improve, and we're seeing him show a lot more determination. I know a lot of people are gonna say he's still really poor. He shouldn't be starting for Arsenal, but you have to understand he's not a starting forward, and the only reason he had that opportunity was because Gabriel Jesus was injured most of the time, and he did hold down the fort when Jesus was injured last season. Still, for me personally, going into that United game, it's a big rivalry from back in the day. And I think we are going to dominate the game. We just need to stick to our game plan and have game management. Against Fulham, that's one thing I wanted to highlight: the fact that we really lacked game management. And I think it would be Gabriel Magalhaes would be back in the starting 11. I'm confident he'd be back in the starting 11, and we'd switch back to the back four and also bring Partey back into midfield. So Partey, Rice, Odegaard, and then Havertz on the bench. With that being said, up front, I do feel confident to say that Gabriel Jesus will start, and our bench will finally be strong. When we're in need of a goal, we have that opportunity to have that bench, which is great because we finally have that squad depth. I still think that Arsenal are in the market for a centre back to replace Jurriën Timber. It's a shame that Jurriën Timber is out for the season with an ACL injury. I wish him all the best. And I'm looking forward to the Man United fixture. I'm actually confident going into the game and think we should dominate the game and take our chances early on in the game. But I think it is going to be a great game, and I'm looking forward to it. Moving on into not only the fact that we looked poor yesterday, but I feel like we're adding new dimensions to the way we play, obviously, from seeing the new signings. So Arteta's trying to test things out, and changing the person who inverts is Thomas Partey from Zinchenko. With Zinchenko being back, like I said earlier, I don't think we're going to see Thomas Partey at right back for a while. Thankfully, that's not the case. I'm hopeful and fingers crossed to say we will get the 3 points at home to Man United. But you can tell that Arteta is trying to change the system against smaller teams like Fulham or like Nottingham Forest to allow some players to have a rest, but also to allow teams to not figure our starting 11 out. Last season, we were so predictable in our starting 11. Yes, it did work for us, but it's the same attack. It's the same three midfielders and one person inverting that we're doing now. It's just the only difference is from Partey to Zinchenko doing the inverting. And we would be allowed to save our best for the big games if we're changing our system and controlling games well with our system and winning games in gear 2 rather than growing into gear 1 in games where we don't really need to do that and don't really need to waste players, or sorry, in the sense of using up players in games where we could have rested them. I think that's one thing we're going to have more of this season, going into the smaller fixtures versus the big games coming up, when we have a good run of fixtures with City at home coming up soon as well. The addressing the Timber replacement is quite concerning, because Zinchenko seems to be easily to break down, and Partey doesn't seem suitable at right back. Although Partey played at right back at Atletico, I just felt like he's much better in midfield. And I do feel that we will go in the market for a defender to get a short-term accommodation replacement for the injured Jurriën Timber. And I think our second right wing option would be Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson is a player I really vouch for and really want to see do more of on the pitch. It's a shame every time he comes on, he has a good game, but he always gets injured. He seems injury prone. Another thing I want to mention in this Fulham game, it's now 3 games for the Arsenal. 3 games into the Premier League, and Arsenal have seen 0 minutes for Emil Smith-Rowe. Not seeing any minutes for Emil Smith-Rowe is quite concerning. Not seeing enough of him. I really think he deserves to get some game time. And I also want to mention, so I said earlier in my tweets after the game, I said Arteta's changing everything because we're trying to accommodate the 65 million price tag for Kai Havertz. This is one part where I'm going to ask you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Because personally, I feel even if Havertz wasn't playing, it would still be the same back four. in the sense that if Havertz wasn't playing, it would still be Thomas Partey doing the inverting, because that's how Arteta wants to be. Arteta wants three midfielders plus another one inverting. So in that sense, because Zinchenko was injured, Thomas Partey was the only other player who could have done the inverting at right back. And I think it's going to be a process to see our systems change, and it's going to take time for us to adapt to that. Again, like I said earlier, second gear versus first gear, depending on the fixture that we're playing. And then coming up in that January window, I really hope we go for a clinical striker like Ferguson from Brighton or Ivan Toney. Personally, I would go for Ivan Toney. Someone that we know he's an Arsenal fan. It doesn't really mean much what club they support, but I do feel like he would be that clinical striker and would get us a level above than what we are now. Defensively, we were really poor in this Fulham game. 2 silly goals to concede yet again. But I trust Arteta to get it right for the Man United game, and we'll see what's going to happen moving forward. Even with Pep Guardiola, people are saying, yeah, Arteta's trying to copy Pep. Yeah, I do see it, and I'm being honest. I think that Guardiola, it costed him the Champions League the first time when he changed things way too much. But like I said earlier, the only thing that changed was the person doing the inverting. We still had three midfielders on the pitch. And I think the most concern from this Fulham game to take away was the fact that defensively we were shocking. Defensively, we were not great. We had no concentration after taking the lead. We took our foot off the gas, and yet again, as soon as you take your foot off the gas, you allow other teams to grow into the game. We saw this last season in a couple of games in the late run of the title charge that we failed to do. And again, yesterday's performance against Fulham, we really saw that. Credits to Ramsdale. He made a really good save against Adama Traore. Like I mentioned earlier, this could have easily been a game we lost, and we would have been grateful to have a point. I know 3 points is what matters here, and against Fulham, you should be beating them home and away. We did beat Fulham home and away last season. We're a better team now, but it's a shame that first goal we conceded was really unlucky. I don't know how else to put it. There's no two twos about it. It was a poor performance, and we just got to move forward. We got to look at the bigger picture, and it's time to move forward and look ahead at Man United at home. A big game for us. I am going for a 3-1 Arsenal win. That's my score prediction. I will be doing a review for the Man United game, but also be doing an FPL Game Week 2 review later on this week. My fantasy team this week has been an absolute nightmare. Guys, let me know if you're playing fantasy football. Let me know in the comments your point score for this week. Holland missed a penalty earlier on in today's game, and the Newcastle-Liverpool game is going to be a great one to watch. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking more forward to the Man United game at home. That's always a big fixture. I have United fans in my household, and it gets heated every single time. With that being said, do like the video if you haven't already. If you're new to my channel, check out my previous videos. I do vlogs, I do match day vlogs, I do reactions, I have an AFTV reaction video, I do match reactions for every game, and I also do live streams with special guests. I've appeared on other people's channels, so check out my playlist over there somewhere, and click that red subscribe button. We are on the road to 6,000 subscribers. Thanks to each and every one of you who tune in every week to my channel and to my videos. I really appreciate all the support and love. If you do want to check me out on social media, feel free to do so. Thanks so much, and take care, everyone. I'll be back with the next video. Adios.